I still remember the sound it made when it hit the floor, not a crash, not a bang. Just a soft, with thud. My graduation cake. White frosting with little gold stars. My name written in careful cursive across the top. Face down on my mother's kitchen floor. And my nephew, my sister's 8-year-old son, standing over it with his arms crossed, grinning like he'd just won a game. Eat it off the ground. He said. Not yelled, not shouted. Just said it, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I looked at him, then at the cake, then at my sister, who was leaning against the counter with her phone in her hand, not even looking up. My mother was sitting at the table, sipping her coffee. Neither of them said a word. I waited for someone to tell him no, to apologize, to do something, but the only sound in that kitchen was the hum of the refrigerator and my nephew's quiet laughter. My sister finally glanced up. "Oh, come on, Daisy," she said, her voice flat. "It's just a cake, just a cake. I'd bought it myself, with my own money, because I knew no one else would. I'd graduated 2 days before, finished my degree, walked across that stage with no one in the audience cheering for me. My mother said she had a migraine. My sister said she couldn't find a babysitter. So I walked alone. I sat in that auditorium surrounded by families, watched other graduates get hugged, get flowers, get tears of pride. I got a text from my mother an hour before the ceremony. "Can't make it. Head hurts too bad. You understand?" Not a question, a statement. I understood, all right. I understood that I'd never been a priority. Not when I graduated high school, not when I got my first job, not ever, but I told myself it was fine. I told myself that some families just weren't like that maybe I was asking for too much. So I walked across that stage, shook hands with the dean, and smiled for a photo that no one would ever ask to see, and when I came home, I didn't say anything. I didn't complain. I just bought myself a cake because I wanted to mark the moment somehow. I wanted to feel like it mattered. I'd picked it up from the bakery that morning. The woman behind the counter had smiled at me. "Congratulations," she'd said, and I'd almost cried right there, because that stranger's kindness meant more to me than anything my family had said in years. I brought the cake to my mother's house because I thought maybe, just maybe, we could share it. Maybe they'd pretend to care for 5 minutes. I walked in with the cake box in my hands. My sister was there. My nephew was running around, screaming about some video game. My mother barely looked up. "Oh, you got a cake," she said. "That's nice, nice." That was it. I set it on the counter. I didn't even get a chance to open the box before my nephew ran over, curious. "What's that?" he asked. "It's a cake," I said. "For my graduation." He stared at it. Then, without warning, he grabbed the box and yanked it off the counter. I reached for it, but I was too slow. The box fell. The lid popped open, and the cake slid out, face first, onto the floor, white frosting smeared across the tile, gold stars scattered. My name Daisy half visible, half dashed destroyed. And my nephew standing over it with his arms crossed, grinning like he'd just won a game. "Eat it off the ground," he said. I looked at him, then at the cake, then at my sister. She was still on her phone. Double quotes. "Oh, come on, Daisy," she said without looking up. "It's just a cake." My mother sipped her coffee. "Boys will be boys," she said. "Boys will be boys." Like that explained it, like that made it okay. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not yet, just a hollow, aching realization. They didn't care. They had never cared. I bent down slowly. My hands were shaking. I started picking up the pieces. The frosting stuck to my fingers. The cardboard base was soaked through. My nephew laughed again. "She's actually doing it," he said. My sister snorted. My mother said nothing. I didn't look at her. I didn't look at anyone. I just kept picking up the pieces one by one and putting them in the trash. The frosting was thick and sticky. It clung to my fingers, left white streaks on my palms. I could feel their eyes on me. Not concerned, not apologetic. Just watching, like I was performing some expected role. The family maid, the family doormat. When I was done, I washed my hands. The water ran cold, then warm. I scrubbed the frosting away, watching it swirl down the drain. I dried my hands on a towel. I grabbed my purse, and I left. No one called after me. No one asked where I was going. My nephew had already moved on to his video game. My sister was scrolling through her phone. My mother was still sitting at the table, staring out the window. I got in my car, and I sat there for a long time, staring at the steering wheel. My hands were still shaking. I could still smell the frosting. Sweet, cloying. Ruined. And then my phone buzzed, a text from my mother. "You're being dramatic again." I stared at the screen. The words didn't surprise me. They never did. Every time I had a reaction to anything, I was being dramatic. Every time I felt hurt, I was too sensitive. Every time I asked for the bare minimum, I was asking too much. Then another text came through. This one from my sister. Mom's right. You always make everything about you. We're done dealing with this. Don't come back. I read it twice, 3 times, and something inside me just stopped. Not broke. Stopped. Like a switch flipping off. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there holding my phone. And I thought about the last 5 years. No. The last 10 years. The last 15. My entire life. Really? I thought about being 12 years old and babysitting my nephew for free every -1 while my sister went out. I thought about being 16 and loaning my mother money from my part-time job because she forgot to pay the electric bill. I thought about being 19 and co-signing my first loan because my mother said she'd lose her car without my help. I thought about being 22 and paying my sister's credit card bill because she said she'd go to collections if I didn't. I thought about every birthday where they forgot to call, every holiday where I brought the food. Every crisis where I dropped everything to help, and I thought about how in all that time, they'd never once done the same for me. Not once. I pulled up my banking app. 3 loans, all in my name, all co-signed for my mother and my sister. My mother's car, $18,000 left. My sister's credit card debt consolidation, $12,000, and the personal loan my mother took out for home repairs that never happened, $22,000. $52,000. My credit score carrying their weight. I stared at the numbers on my screen, and I made a decision. I drove home to my apartment. The one I paid for, a loan. The one my mother had called too small when she first saw it. The one my sister had said was in a bad neighborhood even though it wasn't. The one they only visited when they needed something. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The silence hit me. Not the heavy, oppressive silence of my mother's house, but a clean, open silence. My space. My rules. I sat down at my desk, and I started making calls. First, the credit card company. The hold music was terrible. Some generic jazz that looped every 45 seconds. I waited. And waited. Finally, someone picked up. Thank you for calling. How can I help you today? I need to be removed as a co-signer on an account. Pause. Can I get the account number? I gave it to her. Another pause. And your relationship to the primary account holder? She's my sister. I see. And why are you requesting removal? I took a breath, because I no longer want to be financially responsible for her debt. The representative was polite but firm. I understand. However, removal as a co-signer typically requires the primary account holder to refinance or provide an alternative co-signer. I understand that, I said, but I'd like to start the process. They transferred me. I explained again. They transferred me again. By the 4th transfer, I was repeating the same information to someone new, and I could feel my patience thinning, but I stayed calm. I stayed clear. I documented every name, every extension, every word. It took 3 hours, but I finally got a case number. 3 hours of my life spent undoing a decision I'd made to help someone who had just told me not to come back. Then the bank. Thank you for calling. How may I assist you? I need to discuss the co-signed auto loan under my name. Same process. Same transfers. Same calm repetition. Another case number. Then the personal loan company. By the time I was done, it was almost midnight. My hand hurt from writing notes. My throat was dry from talking. But I had 3 case numbers, 2 confirmation emails, and a plan. I wasn't going to keep carrying them. Not anymore. I made myself tea. I sat on my couch, and I stared at my phone. Part of me wanted to text them. To explain. To defend myself, but I didn't. I just set my phone down and drank my tea in silence. I didn't text them. I didn't call. I just stopped answering. Stopped sending money. Stopped showing up. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. No calls. No text. Silence. And honestly, it was the most peaceful 2 weeks I'd had in years. I went to work. I came home. I cooked dinner for myself. I watched movies I wanted to watch. I read books I'd been meaning to read. I went for walks. I didn't check my phone every 5 minutes, waiting for the next crisis. I didn't budget around their emergencies. I just lived. It felt strange at first, like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. But as the days passed, I started to relax. I started to remember what it felt like to not be needed. To not be used. And then, on a Tuesday night, someone started pounding on my door. I was in my pajamas, watching a show, halfway through a bowl of popcorn. The pounding was loud, aggressive. I froze. I looked through the peephole. My mother, my sister, my brother, law. All of them. Open this door, Daisy, my mother screamed. Her face was red. Her fist was raised. My sister was behind her, arms crossed, glaring. My brother-in-law looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I stepped back from the door. My heart was racing. Daisy, we know you're in there, my sister yelled. More pounding. Open the door right now. I didn't move. I just stood there, in the middle of my living room, staring at the door. You can't just ignore us, my mother screamed. We're your family. My hands were steady. I picked up my phone and dialed 911. What's your emergency? There are people banging on my door and refusing to leave. I've asked them to go. And they won't. My voice was calm, calmer than I expected. My mother heard me through the door. You're calling the cops on your own family? Yes, I said into the phone. I need an officer here now. I gave them my address. The pounding continued. My sister's voice came next. You think you're so much better than us? You owe us, Daisy. We raised you, raised me. I almost laughed. They raised me to be silent, to give, to disappear when it was convenient. They raised me to carry their burdens and never ask for help in return. The pounding got louder. I heard my brother-in-law say something. Maybe we should just go. Shut up, my sister snapped. She's not getting away with this. Getting away with what? Living my own life, setting boundaries, not being their ATM anymore. I stood there, phone in hand, waiting. And then I heard the sirens. 2 officers arrived within 6 minutes. I opened the door and stepped outside calmly. My mother's face twisted when she saw me. Finally, she spat. We need to talk about. One of the officers stepped between us. Mom, step back, please. I explained the situation quietly, clearly. I showed them the text from 2 weeks ago, the one where my mother and sister told me not to come back. I showed them the call log, the missed calls, the voicemails I hadn't listened to. I explained that I'd cut off financial support and that they'd shown up unannounced, demanding entry. The officers listened. Then they turned to my mother. Mom, does she owe you money? My mother hesitated. Well, no. But is there a legal reason you need access to her apartment? She's my daughter. I have a right, Mom. She's an adult, and this is her residence. You need to leave now. My sister stepped forward. This is insane. She's cutting us off for no reason. That's her right. The other officer said, you need to leave. My mother's face went red. You don't understand. She's been helping us for years, and now she just, ma'am. You need to leave, now. They left, but not quietly. My mother turned back at the end of the hallway. You're going to regret this, she said. Her voice was cold, venomous. I didn't respond. I just stood there, flanked by 2 police officers, and watched her go. When they were gone, one of the officers turned to me. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, thank you. If they come back, call us again. I will. I went back inside. I locked the door. I sat on my couch. And I didn't cry. I just sat there, breathing, feeling the adrenaline slowly drain from my body. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I'd set a boundary and enforced it. And for the first time in my life, I felt powerful. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of notifications. Facebook, Instagram. Missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I opened Facebook. And there it was. A post from my mother. Public. A long, winding paragraph about how I had abandoned my family. How I was cruel and selfish. How I had stolen from them, and then cut them off without explanation. She tagged me. She tagged my name, my workplace, mutual friends, people I hadn't spoken to in years. The comments were already starting. I always knew she was cold. What kind of daughter does this? Praying for you and your family. She seemed so nice, but you never really know people. I sat there, staring at the screen. My hands were shaking again. Not from fear, from anger. She was lying, and people were believing her. I scrolled through the comments. Distant relatives I barely knew. Old family friends, people who had no idea what had actually happened, and they were all on her side. Of course they were. She'd always been good at playing the victim. I wanted to respond. I wanted to write my own post. To tell my side. To defend myself, but I didn't. Instead, I took a screenshot. I documented the post, the tags, the comments. Then I called a lawyer. I found one through a quick search, a consultation, free. I explained everything, the loans, the harassment, the post. The lawyer listened. She didn't interrupt when I was done. She asked a few clarifying questions. Do you have documentation of the loans? Yes. Do you have the texts where they told you not to come back? Yes. And do you have proof that you've been trying to legally remove yourself from the loans? Yes. She was quiet for a moment. You have grounds for a cease and desist, she said, and possibly a defamation claim, depending on what she said and how it affects you professionally. I thought about it. The idea of suing my own mother felt surreal. But the idea of letting her destroy my reputation felt worse. For now, I said. I just want her to take the post down. Understood. I'll draft a letter. The lawyer drafted a letter that afternoon. It was formal, professional, firm. It outlined the false statements in the post. It referenced the texts where they'd told me not to come back. It mentioned the police report from the night they showed up at my door, and it demanded that the post be removed within 24 hours. It was sent by the end of the day. By the next morning, the post was gone. My mother didn't apologize. She didn't reach out. But she also didn't post again, and honestly, that was enough. 2 months passed. I kept following up with the loan companies. Every week, I called. Every week, I asked for updates. Some weeks, there was progress. Other weeks, there was nothing, but I didn't give up. I provided documentation, bank statements, proof of financial independence, proof that I had not benefited from the loans. I explained, over and over, that I'd co-signed under pressure, that I'd been manipulated, that I wanted out. One by one, they started the process of removing me. It wasn't instant. It took time, paperwork, persistence, but I stayed on it. The auto loan was the first to go. My mother refinanced it in her name alone. I don't know how she managed it. Maybe she found another co-signer. Maybe she lied on the application. I didn't care. I just cared that my name was off it. The credit card company took longer. They required my sister to close the account and restructure the debt. She fought it at first. I know because they told me, but eventually, she agreed. The personal loan was the hardest. The company didn't want to let me go. I was the one with good credit. I was the one making payments. My mother had missed 3 payments in the last year alone. But I kept pushing. I escalated. I filed complaints. I provided evidence of financial abuse. And finally, after months of back and forth, they agreed to release me. My mother had to provide a co-signer replacement. I don't know who she got. I didn't ask. By month 4, I was free. All 3 loans were off my name. My credit report updated. I checked it twice to make sure, and then I sat on my couch, staring at my phone, and I felt light, like I could finally breathe, like a weight I'd been carrying my entire adult life had finally been lifted. I didn't reach out to them. I didn't send a message saying it was over. I just moved on. I focused on work. I got a promotion 2 months later. My boss called me into her office and told me I'd been doing excellent work, that I was reliable, focused, and dependable. I almost cried, because for so long, those same qualities had been used against me. I was reliable, so my family expected me to always be there. I was focused, so they expected me to handle everything. I was dependable, so they took me for granted. But at work, those qualities were valued. Rewarded. I started going to therapy around that time. My therapist was kind, patient. She asked me once, "Do you feel guilty?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "I feel free," and I did. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. I started doing things I'd never done before. I went on a trip with friends. We drove to the coast, rented a beach house, and spent a weekend doing absolutely nothing. No emergencies, no crises. Just sun and sand and laughter. I bought myself new furniture, a couch I actually liked, a bed frame that wasn't secondhand. Art for my walls. I made my apartment feel like home. Not a temporary stop, not a place I was just passing through. Home. I celebrated my birthday with people who actually cared. My coworkers threw me a surprise party. My friends took me out to dinner. Someone made me a cake. A real cake. With my name on it. And no one threw it on the floor. No one told me I was being dramatic. I laughed. I felt light. I felt seen. I posted a picture on Instagram. Just me and my friends smiling. The caption said, "Grateful for the people who show up." My mother didn't like it. My sister didn't comment, but I didn't care. And then 6 months after that night with the police, my phone buzzed. A text from my sister, "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time. My first instinct was to respond. To ask what she wanted. To see if she'd apologize. To see if anything had changed. But then I thought about the cake, the texts, the loans, the years of being used and ignored. And I put my phone down. I didn't block her. I didn't delete the message. I just didn't answer because I didn't owe her anything anymore. Not my time, not my energy. Not my forgiveness. I was done being their safety net. Done being the one who gave everything and got nothing. I was finally living for me. And that was enough. A few weeks later, I was sitting in a coffee shop with a friend when I saw my mother across the street. She didn't see me. She was walking with my sister talking, laughing. They looked fine, happy even, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just nothing. My friend noticed. You okay? She asked. I smiled. Yeah, I said. I really am. Because I'd spent so many years waiting for them to see me. To value me. To love me the way I loved them. But they never did, and once I stopped waiting, I realized something. I didn't need them to. I had people in my life who saw me, who celebrated me. Who didn't take until there was nothing left, and that was more than enough. That night, I got home and made myself dinner. I lit a candle. I put on music and I sat at my table, eating alone, and I felt peaceful, completely, deeply peaceful. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their apology. I just needed to be free, and I was. The months turned into a year. I kept living my life. I kept building my career. I kept nurturing my friendships. I went on dates. Some were good, some were bad, but I was learning what I wanted, what I deserved. I wasn't settling anymore. Not for BREADCRUMBS. Not for people who only wanted me when it was convenient. I started setting boundaries everywhere. At work, in friendships, in dating, and it felt good. I felt like I was finally becoming the person I was always supposed to be, not the person my family needed me to be, but the person I actually was. I took up new hobbies. I joined a book club. I started painting. I wasn't good at it, but I didn't care. It was just for me. I traveled more. I went to places I'd always wanted to see but never had the money for, because I wasn't sending it all to them anymore. I built a life I loved, a life that felt like mine, and the best part, I didn't miss them. Not really. Sometimes, late at night, I'd think about them. Wonder what they were doing, wonder if they ever thought about me. But those thoughts didn't hurt anymore. They were just there, like old scars that didn't ache anymore. The last time I heard from any of them was a year after that text from my sister, a voicemail from my mother. I saw her name on my screen, and for a second, I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the play button. Part of me was curious, part of me wanted to know what she'd say, but a bigger part of me knew it didn't matter. Nothing she could say would change anything. I didn't listen to it. I just deleted it, and I kept moving forward, because I'd learned something important, something I wished I'd learned sooner. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the worst, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away, not with anger. Not with bitterness, just with quiet certainty. I walked away, and I never looked back, because I finally understood. I deserved better. I always had. And now I was living like it. I was living for me, for my happiness, for my peace, and that was worth more than any relationship built on obligation and guilt. I was free, and I was never going back.